Welcome to Brave with Lisa. This space is designed to inspire, champion, and equip you to bravely walk in that unique rhythm of grace and calling that God has designed just for you. I'm so excited you're joining us today. Hi, welcome to Brave with Lisa. I'm your host, Lisa Bruton, and today I have my very precious friend, Grace Wightman, and we're going to be talking about some subjects that are a bit taboo or just not spoken about. So thank you for coming on and being brave, Grace, but also I'm so excited about just the gold that you're about to share.
Thanks. I think that there's a lot to chat about.
There is.
Women in business. I think that we're all called for certain things, and I think that the ones that are in business are particularly I love them even more, and I'm excited to have a chat.
Yes. Okay. So Grace, tell us about your world, what your world looks like, and what you're passionate about.
So my world are my three beautiful babies and my husband, they're not babies anymore. They're all growing up too quickly. But we have three beautiful girls that I just adore. And my darling partner, Luke, my husband, my bestie, we met when we were 16 and 17. And we have been madly in love with each other ever since. And we're married 22, I think it is. I should know it's 21 years married, and just enjoy every day together. It's pretty special.
That's amazing. I love hearing that. I love hearing love stories.
Yeah. So
special. Grace, like I said, we're going to be talking about subjects that aren't really talked about, particularly around money, finances, and you've got quite a story. Could you share that with us?
Sure. I don't even know, where should I start?
Well, I know that you and Luke started business really young, didn't you?
So we met at 16, 17, and I actually my mum bought hair products off Luke's dad, and I'm one of five, and Paul and Sylvia are gorgeous. Rhonda's Rhonda-ish, she's gorgeous. And she was buying shampoo and conditioner, and she said to Luke's dad, "How's business?" And he said, "Good, but I don't have any good staff." And Mum said, "What do you need?" And he said, "Someone with spark." And Mum's like, "Oh, I've got one of those." So I got told to go to this job interview, and I already had this cushy job, tea, coffee, serving coffee. And Mum's like, "You have to go, So I went, and I was like, I do not want to do this. I just do not want to work in the city. I have no desire. And I remember walking past, it was actually at Luke's sister's surf shop, and there were steps up. And I remember like literally walking past the front steps and going, I'm not going in. I just don't want to do this. And I clearly remember to this day, I felt like God put his hand on my head and twisted me. And the stairs were this way, and he turned me like that up the stairs. And I just remember clearly like just walking up the stairs, and downstairs at the Brothers Nielsen surf shop was Luke Wightman. And we had a job interview, and we were friends for a while, and then we started dating, and that was the start of our journey. And then actually got introduced to the world of hairdressing, because the back room of the surf shop shared the back room of this horrible cafe, which actually fed us through the 90s, which is very cool. But also the hair salon out the back. And I remember being this little farm girl from WA going, how do you have, like, why does your hair look, and how does your face look? I was just completely oblivious. I had no idea of hair, no idea of makeup. There was no tutorials. There was no internet. We called each other like this, right? It was back then. And I got introduced to this world of hairdressing, and that's where Luke and I he was brought up in hairdressing, and I got introduced. And one of Luke's dad's shops was closing down around the corner, and it was one of those shops that on your lunch break you filled a shift, and there was no one really loved it. There were three shops in the city, and after falling in love with hair, we just said, "Hey, can you give us a chance? Like, can we have the shop for 3 months? Can we just put our love into it and try to save it? And if we save it, can we call it our own? And we'll repay you and we'll sort that out. And he said, and Sylvia very kindly said, sure, give it a crack, 3 months. And City Arcade became alive, and it was Luke and Grace, and it was just tired and old and unloved, which was so understandable because it was just one of three. There's always one business that's like a little bit like tagging onto everyone else. And yeah, we transformed it. We filled it with stock. We gave it personality. And yeah, from there, it just grew. It grew. We opened up a pop-up shop about probably a year later. Because do you remember when they were selling like frangipanis and hibiscus?
Yes.
So 2000s, everyone. Just remember the pants up, like the thigh length pants with the wedged, remember, and the singlet and frangipanis and hibiscus. And I remember we had this slat wall, and we'd get stock in on a Monday and it would be gone by Friday lunchtime. Like, I'm talking no flower clips left. And we were like, hang on a second, there's like this demand that we can't fill. And back then you had to fax your orders, fax. So like you'd wait 2-3 weeks for stock to come in because you have to wait. So Luke and I were like, wow, there's a real gap in the market. So we started buying these flower clips in bulk, and we rented this shop in this next arcade across for next to nothing. Our shop fit budget was $500.
Wow.
Like, back then it was nothing, but now that I think about it, I was like, okay, it's, so we went straight down to the $2 King Kong shop on Murray Street Mall in the city, and we bought like a staple gun, rolls of tulle from like Spotlight, butterflies, blow up. Remember the blow up couches? The blow up, right? We dug an old till from the back room, like one of those tills. And we set up the shop for, I think we took 6-month lease, and we just filled it with clips, and it was cranking. So we're probably like, by this time, it's probably like, we're like 18, 19, 18.
It's amazing.
Probably 18. And so we had 2 shops. We had the hair salon. It was full of stock, customers, staff, love. And then we had this other shop that we would just tag team, and it was easy to do. And we had that for 6 months, and then that flower market died like that. And we were like, right, we're out. It was like a week by week lease. And we actually gave the whole shop fit to a guy who was working with us called Clinton, and he took it to a market stall, and he started his own little business off there. But yeah, it just went on for 20 years like that. Just these little opportunities, little adventures, good and bad, didn't always succeed. But that was the start of our journey together.
That's amazing, Grace. And I love that. First of all, I love that God partnered you and Luke together, but also also at 19, you're both running businesses and seeing opportunities and running with it, and not being held back by the world's view of like, you're too young to do anything significant, or,
Well, okay. So I went to a girls' school, and it was all educational sports. There was nothing in between. It's either you're educated or you're sporty, and there was nothing in between. So I really struggled at school because I love knowledge, but I have no desire to be a doctor. None. Like, my sister's a doctor, my brother-in-law's a doctor, my sister, like, I'm full of educated people, but I just had no knowledge, no need to be that. I was like, nah, get me out of here. So when I started working, so I left high school, finished high school, went straight, I was already working, went into work in the businesses. And my mum, bless her, Rhonda, said, you have to get an education. You have to get a piece of paper that says you have a piece of paper. And I was like, whatever. So I marched into TAFE, and I chatted to the chickie babe, and she's like, what do you like? And I'm like, oh, I like hosting and I like doing stuff with people. And she's like, oh, what about what is it when you do like party planning?
Events?
Yeah, event coordinator. Mm-hmm. Great, I'll be an event coordinator. So I walk in, first day of TAFE, right? I'm looking fancy with all my hair clips and all my stuff. And I'm sitting there and this guy, oh my gosh, he was so boring, walks in and he's like, right, out of this whole class, 90% of you aren't going to get a job in the industry. And of that 10%, 90% of that 10% are going to get a job that you actually want to do. And of those people, only one of you is going to actually succeed in this industry. So if you're not here to be that one person, you should leave now. And I literally go, well, that sucks. Out loud, I go, well, that sucks. I stood up and I walked out. I was like, I am not that one person. I will not fight. I'm not going to put myself through boringness to be that one person. Went back to the chicky babe. I said, I need a piece of paper. I need to get educated in something quickly. So my mum will let me be educated and I can move on with my life. I was like, what's the quickest, cheapest course? And she's like, beauty therapy. Great. Sign me up. So I am actually a qualified beauty therapist. I've never waxed a person. I've never done anything with it. I didn't even go to my graduation ceremony. I just said, Rhonda, I'm qualified. She said, great. She never saw the piece. I could have lied, but I actually did it. And so, yes, I am technically, for Rhonda's sake. Never used it though, Mum, did I? But yes. And then she released me. She's like, you can now go and do business. I had to jump a hurdle. I had to jump some sort of hurdle, but yes.
Well done. But also there is that, I've spoken to many women over the years, and even myself, like when God called me to start running retreats, and I was like, well, I better go and get myself qualified in something. Like I was already an occupational therapist, but I thought that wasn't enough. Yeah. But what I've learned as you begin and walk it out is actually God's anointed and equipped us, and that's his grace, that supernatural ability to do the things that he's called us to do. So yeah.
Yes, I agree. Piece of paper, but at the end of the day, that calling and that heart cry of like, you know, I just want to sell flower clips. You know, you can't, there's no amount of waxing that can stick you in your salon when you've got business on your heart to just go out there and do what you've been called to do.
Exactly right. And also I love that it was actually really simple what you did, right? Like that idea was simple. And sometimes we will discount ideas that God gives us because it's too simple and we think it needs to be a bit more complex.
Yeah, I agree. And it's hard. I think it's harder these days because there's so much information and there's so many people out there who are like, you know, I'm my own business and I have a phone and a bank account and now I'm a successful person. And I think the romance of the journey of business has been completely diminished. And this younger generation is like, well, what do you mean I can't just flog stuff on eBay or Amazon and become a millionaire overnight? It's like that journey and seeing our parents work hard and cut boxes and fill shelves and have the highs and lows. Like it has changed the way that the young next generation, they just want it now. And consistency and giving it a shot and listening to God and following through and learning when to say no. There's value there.
That's a big one, learning when to say no.
Say no, yeah.
So Grace, you mentioned before that there's been highs and lows in your business. Can I ask you what some of the lows are?
Yeah, sure. Lows, well, at a young age, when we were like 18, 19, the lows were all our friends were going to Europe and backpacking and like, you know, studying for 6 months and then traveling for 3 months and then working. And so that was really tough back then. And I just remember feeling not left behind, but it was like, oh, I really want to go with you, but I know this is what I need to do. Our travel came in our mid-20s and we did it so well. And it was completely different but that was not a low, but that was tough. A low would have been like that moment when, you know, you need a piece of paper that was tough, but it was just, you just get through it. It's like, whatever, let's just get a piece of paper. Other lows would be, you know, we've had some tough times. Like we've had business debt that has just swallowed us and, you know, opened too many businesses too many quickly and learnt the hard way and had to sell a house to save it all and move children into rentals and go through that really tough season of rebuilding. which looking back now that we've come through it, and that's a big thing to say, there's so much value in that season, but it was hard. It was really hard. It was tough, but we got there and we're all happy and together and loving God and still walking forward. So yeah, but there were tough times.
Yeah. So Grace, can I ask you a few more questions around like having to sell your house and just the shift in lifestyle?
Yeah.
And like you said, you still, but you've come through it and you've got each other. And so you did that tough season well.
Well, I hope so. I don't think I did it well all the time, but I remember clearly walking into a rental that's literally up around the corner, and it was bad. It was like, what's the cheapest thing? Because we were just trying to pay back debt, honor our families, do the right thing by everyone. And we were like, we need as little outlay as possible. We just need to pay this, because we got to a point where it was suffocating us. It was suffocating Luke. He was just, it wasn't worth it. We had to start, we had to be grown-ups and go, we've bitten off more than we can chew. It hasn't worked out well. We know what we need to do. It's really hard to do it, but we have to just do this. But I remember walking into the rental and just saying to the girls, like stopping them as they walked in. And I was like, girls, we're going to have some of the happiest years of our life in this home.
Good.
And in my head, I was like saying it and going, you have to believe this. You can't just fake this for your kids. You actually have to make this happen. And we did COVID through that crappy rental. We had litters of puppies in that rental. It was just a different season, but I hope my girls will remember it as a happy season. I really do, because you can have the biggest house on the street, but if you don't love God or love your children or love your husband and have that intimacy, and I think that season just really stripped everything away. And it was like, we just had to rely on God. We had to rely on each other. And we had to find the joy in the littlest of things, just the littlest of things. Because I'm talking like mice in the walls, and it was moldy and it was gross, but we had to do it to smash debt and also to be able to save to buy a house again. We had to have as little outlay as possible to just start gathering our little nest and bringing it together.
So in that season, because I can only imagine when you first started to realize, okay, we've bitten off more than we can chew, we're in a bit of trouble here, and you'd be looking at different avenues and how do we do this? Did you have people around you that could speak wisdom and help you along the way?
I think so. I don't know whether it was a blur. I must admit, I think definitely there were people speaking into our lives. Our pastors were incredible. And there were people around us, but it was such a blur. I think now that we're through it, if it ever happened again, I think our ears would be so much more open, because I think people were speaking to us leading into it, but we couldn't hear them. We were just like, no, we'll be fine. It's going to be fine. We just got to get another Christmas trade. We've just got to wait for that to come in. It was a bit la, but it was out of complete innocence. It was just out of like, not greed. It was just like, no, I think we've got this. And then we just got to this point. I remember the day I had a friend and she sat with me and she just said, you're either going to lose your house or you can sell it and get rid of this debt. And I just remember going, okay. And then she's like, what do you want? I'm like, I don't want either. And she's like, you have to pick one. Like, okay, sell it. And she's like, right, you need to go home and sell your house. And within a week, it was on the market.
What a good friend.
Yeah, she's a valued friend. And I just remember Band-Aid off. I was like on the phone. I'm like, I need an agent. You need to sell this house. And and that was just the journey of just that ripping off Band-Aid, shedding everything, letting it all go, back to basics, and just working hard, but wise and diligent. And then COVID happened.
Thanks, COVID. So what I love though, Grace, and I've heard a little bit about your story. I didn't know you very well when you were walking through that. But what I've learned and gleaned from listening to your story is that you really decided to remain who you are, like as Grace, and to keep the family happy, but also, yeah, there's elements of who you are, which is like joy, delight, generosity, that you actually protected and said, I'm going to remain like this.
Yeah, it was a real decision because I remember feeling like your joy should be squashed. You should feel shame. You should feel remorse. And I did. I felt bad that this was happening. But at the same time, I was like, I'm not going to let that define me, even in this season. And generosity, if I could just give gifts and go, oh my gosh, someone needs a present. Let's go. That would be my ultimate. Like, I just love doing stuff like that. So I had to learn how to be generous in a season when I had very little, and also entertaining. I adore entertaining, adore it. But I had to learn, okay, I don't have a house I can entertain in, and I don't have the finance to even put not a meal on the table, but like really feed people. It costs a lot of money to like bring all your kids and we'll chuck some sausages on the barbie. Like that's like $250. I'm like, I don't know that. So I had to learn. I had to really be purposeful. And I was like, okay, how can I be generous in this season? And it was little things, barbecues at the beach, but instead of me going, I'll do everything, it's like, hey, would you like to meet at the beach? Let's all just bring what we need for each. And I had never done that before. I'd always just be like, I've got it, because that's what I love to do. It wasn't a dominating thing. It was like, I've got it. You just come. I know you've had a big week. I'll sort you out. So that brought me joy. So for me to be like, hey, do you want to catch up? But let's just bring what we need. It was so hard. Like it was as hard as someone saying, I'll do everything. That's easier for me. I find that easier of like, I'll just sort it, just come. So yeah, but it was a decision, and even the girls' birthdays and their gifts, and I had to learn, like, they just want to go on a family adventure to Mullaney and get an ice cream. They don't need more landfill from Kmart. They don't. They actually don't need it. And so, like, we'd go on family adventures and we'd draw a map and we'd like do like a map and be like, right, we're going to go to the waterfalls, and then we're going to go get an ice cream, and then we're going to go to Karoi and play at the playground, and then we finish off at Noosa. And it was just a different way of showing my love and generosity by drawing a map and doing treasure hunts. So if they had a gift, there was a treasure hunt, and the treasure hunt would have like 20 clues, like so drawn out, but they loved it. And it was just a real decision of rather going, I don't have much, but what I do have is I have creativity, and I have some texts and a piece of paper, and I love you, and I know what you love. So I'm just going to try to hone in on that and really focus on that.
That's beautiful. And I have no doubt that you've brought things that you've learned from that season into this new season that you're in.
Yeah. Yep, definitely. I still love gifts. But I've learned that the girls just want you. They just want you. Your husband just wants you to be like, I love you so much. Like, you're such a beautiful person. That's all they want. That's all they want. And all the landfill will come and go. But at the end of the day, those beautiful, tender moments is what they crave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And doesn't that just bring it back to simplicity?
Yeah. Yeah. Less is more, which is not good for me, because I do like balloons and cake but just a big mum cuddle, little whispers of tenderness in their ears. So
you do that so well. You really
oh my
do
God. I can't get enough of them.
So I guess I kind of came at the end tail of the tough season. And then I saw like just a shift in God, like just, and you and Luke just working with God. And you've, since I've known you, you've started probably one or two different ventures and businesses already, and just run with ideas. And I just, can you share about even the process of getting an idea, or like how does that look for you and Luke?
So I remember during that season of really getting rid of debt and being diligent, I've gone, when is it my turn, God? Because it's not that I don't want the stuff. I just love business. I love a cranking business. And yes, things come from that, but it actually brings me so much joy. And I'm like, when is it going to happen, God? And through COVID, we actually we had the house that I'm sitting in right now. We'd saved up some money. We'd put a deposit on land. We'd put a deposit on a build. And it was what we had in our hand, and it was everything that we ever needed. It was a house, it had a toilet, like it was perfect for us. And when COVID hit, we felt God say there was a thing called JobKeeper, and to activate that, you had to pay out your wages. And God's like, you need to save your business. You need to let this land go. You need to let it go. And so we came and we stood on this block and we prayed, and we were like, we just trust you, and we let it go. And we paid out the wages, and the whole deposit, house, land, cancelled. All the money went on to wages, and it sat out there for months, months and months. But that was the only way we could activate a grant from the government. Anyway, for that year, we spent basically saving our businesses and the businesses within the family. So at the time there was 5, there's now 6 stores, and they're all kind of owned, but Luke and everyone is involved, but we were like, we need to get these grants sorted for the businesses. And then we had this moment with a friend, and he's like, you guys have got a business here. You've got a business here, but you need to be diligent and you need to activate it. And at the time, our money had come back. We had rebought the land. We'd restarted the house build, and we were like, we're happy, we're safe, we don't want any more, we're done. Like, let's just get through this, because we're only like a year into COVID. And if you remember, the second Christmas of trade was terrible. Oh my gosh, it was horrible. Anyway, he's like, no, you have to be diligent. And I think that's where the wisdom has come, because back then someone would have said that to us and we would have been like, can't hear you. Now we're like, okay, we've got someone who we really love and respect saying something to us. We need to look into this. So we started a business basically helping other businesses access the same grant and basically being a consultant. And that has just skyrocketed. It's been incredible. It has been for a short season because that grant has now finished, and the next season of grants, we're not sure what that looks like because we're just tying up loose ends from this first season. But I can tell you that it's just been life-changing for us.
Well done. Well done, because that takes courage to step out and do another business after you've really just recovered, and that's really trusting God. Now, I know that there's a lot of women out there, and men, who have an idea and or want to start a business, or just can feel something bubbling. What's some advice that you would say to them about beginning a business?
I would say, like I said, try to have ears open, but do be aware that most people are going to say no before they say yes. So be really careful with who you open your heart to, and find someone who has wisdom in business and years of experience. Like, oh my gosh, everyone is a business owner at the moment. And I'm like, okay, so how many years have you been sweeping floors and stocking shelves? Like, yes, you might think you know, but like, talk to someone who's actually done it, If it flows, if it's of God, it won't be effortless, but it will flow. There will be clunky moments, but you will push through them. When it's not flowing and it's like you're pushing it, learn to say, okay, I don't know about this. Let's just take a pause, set a budget, learn how much you're going to want to lose. Like when you start a business, I would say, I want to invest this much, and I'm okay if it doesn't work. If it's $500, $5,000, $50,000, $500,000, you say, this is how much I'm willing to lose, and be okay if it doesn't. If it doesn't fail, I'm going to be okay losing that money. So it sounds like gambling, but you can't come through and go, you told me it was going to work and you didn't do your part. You have to be like, okay, this is what we're doing. But yeah, if it flows and it's gradual, if it booms, fantastic. But if it just is a little bit effortless, and things like, I'm looking at a shop front and that shop's not available, and oh my gosh, it's available, and the lease is okay, it's a little expensive, but I'm going to talk to the landlord, and oh, they're happy to take a 30% discount. And like just those little things, little things. And praying for a manager, and then oh my gosh, you've got the most amazing manager in the world. Like, oh, okay, I can see this happening now. So just really subtle little things. But I would say that if you feel like you're pushing a rock up a hill, it takes courage to go, you know what? I started out saying I'm okay with this not working, and this might be happening right now, because I can tell you, you will spend whatever you said you're okay willing to lose, you will spend it again trying to make it work. So sometimes I say to someone, they'll say, okay, I've got $200,000 to invest in business. And I'll say to them, okay, don't take me, I am not you, but this is my advice. If I told you I could save you $200,000 right now, what would you say? And they'd be like, great, how do I do it? I'm like, don't do that business. Don't do it. And they're like, oh, that, ouch, that hurts. And I'm like, listen, do what you like, but that's my advice. And people have said that to us, and we haven't listened. So it's a really tough thing to say, okay, I'm going to take other people's advices, but if you have someone who has some experience behind them, and I'm not saying I do, but someone who you think, you know what, I need to just be really open, because sometimes saying no to that, you miss this yes, because you're so fixed on pushing this rock up a hill, you miss this little opportunity moment. And they're always little. They've never been lights on, big. It's been so little, just seeds, little seeds. I'm okay.
Yeah, that's amazing. So Grace, I have one more question for you. So you've done life with, and I'm going to talk about money now. You've done life with very little money and having to recover. And then you've also done life with abundance and not having to worry so much. What's some advice that you can give around money?
So I hate this advice. Luke and I were walking the dogs this morning at like 5 a.m. and he was talking about it, and I'm like, la, 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 la. But you will only spend as much as you earn. So if you've got $400 in the bank, you could spend all of that. But if you've got $400,000 in the bank, you will have trips overseas, handbags, pretty shoes, all the bells and whistles. And I'm not saying don't have pretty things. I'm just saying you can go broke with $1 million in the bank or $5 in the bank. You can. So that's the one thing I've learned is that as we are stepping into this new season, and to some people they have so much more, but for us we have everything we need. So we feel extremely blessed. But in this season, it's just being diligent and being like, grateful that we have come through this season, grateful that we were given a moment to be diligent and work hard, and we're not going to lose it. We're not going to overcapitalize. We're not going to overcommit. We're very cautious. We're a lot more cautious. I feel like we've really hit our 40s. It's like, give me a herbal tea and no debt. Like, that's all. But yeah, just you will spend what's in your bank account. So if you find yourself set goals, we've got really clear goals.
So set goals,
really clear financial goals. We are coming into a season of achieving our first goal that we've really set. That's mega. We've already set our second one, but we will not start on that second goal until we've fixed this first goal. And we've just been really, because opportunities. It's like, oh, investment property, overseas holidays. Like, you could do that. You can. But we're like, no, we want to do this first. Those things will come in time, and we're okay with that. We're absolutely happy to go to the caravan park at Agnes Waters and have a $2 icy pole with our kids. You know, Europe will come in time, but for now, we just need to be diligent with what we have. Yeah.
Oh, Grace, you have just shared so much wisdom from your journey and just being a businesswoman. And I just thank you for your time. If there's some people who are like, oh, I would like to connect with Grace, I would like to learn more, is there a way that they can reach you?
That is a really good question, because I'm not, I am like, listen, my voicemail literally says, please don't leave a voicemail. I'm not going to call you back. Listen, I'm sure there is. We can chat.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
and then I'll put it in the notes. It might just simply be your Instagram handle.
Yeah. And like, literally my front door is always open, and people know that. They just kind of waltz in and grab a chair and we have a chat. But I need to kind of progress past that. I'm just a farm girl from WA, okay? Everyone just has to remember that. That's all I know.
And a delightful one at that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Grace. You are extraordinary, and I'm looking forward to just watching you continue to thrive and grow with your family and your businesses and just all that God has for you.
And thank you to you, because I went on my first retreat, Montville, with you. Mm-hmm. What was that? 2000 and I don't know.
I'm 20.
Yeah.
21, maybe. Yeah.
Was it 3-4 years ago we met?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, yeah, here's a friend. And then I wasn't going to fangirl you, because I was like, so I was like, played it really cool. But you've just been such a gold to me and to so many other people on this beautiful platform that you've been honored with, and you've been so diligent, and you've labored unseen, and I feel honored to call you friend.
Oh, well, you've just blessed me deeply. Thank you, my friends. Love. Thanks for joining me on Brave with Lisa. I hope that it has inspired or impacted you in a small or large way. Feel free to comment, to subscribe, and share with some friends. And please join us next week on another conversation we will have here on this channel on Brave with Lisa.